It was a lovely spring day in Idaho, and guess who had come to see Percy and Thomas? Yes, it was James, the red Injun. He'd heard all about Idaho, but he didn't want to come when there was snow. So he went to see his friends and found out they had gone on a trip, and they asked him, "James, can you pull the troublesome trucks for us because Percy's not around?" Well, James, being a nice guy, said, "Well, I guess I can do that, but I don't want to do anything else." Well, it turned out that Thomas had left too, and Annie and Clarabelle needed to get to the station. So they asked James, "Would you go ahead and pull them as well?" "Oh, I guess I can, but this isn't a lot of fun. I'm supposed to be on vacation." Well, he did a great job, and they found out that the circus train had broken down, and they said, "James, could you please pull the circus cars too?" Well, at this point, James was starting to get angry. "I didn't come here to pull trains the whole time. I came here to be on a vacation, and I don't want to pull them anymore." But they needed someone to pull the trains because Percy and Thomas had taken a trip. So he had to pull Annie and Clarabelle, and then the troublesome trucks had to go somewhere else. Well, then Annie and Clarabelle had to go back to the other station, so he had to pull them, and then guess what? He had to pull the troublesome trucks again, and then Annie and Clarabelle, over and over. He was getting so tired. "I have a great idea. I know what I'm going to do," said James. "I'm just going to pull them all at once, because I'm a big engine, and I can do that." Well, sure enough, James, the big red engine, pulled all the cars at once, and that's something that Percy or Thomas could never do. And all of a sudden, he was having fun in the sunshine of Idaho, going merrily along the track to and fro, pulling all the cars at once, and the people said, "Look at that big engine. It can pull all the cars at the same time." James was beside himself with all of the attention that he was getting for pulling the cars, and he said to himself, "You know, pulling trains is a lot of fun, especially since I can pull the most because I'm the biggest, the reddest, and the best engine in all of Idaho." James is the third engine made by Bachmann Trains in the Thomas and Friends set. He is the largest engine and is packed nicely so he'll arrive at your home with no damage. It looks like James because it's red, it has a number 5, and you can tell by looking at his face. Thomas and Friends sets are not highly detailed because that's the way they are in real life, if real life is James, Thomas, and Percy, and it is for a lot of kids. And so they'll be able to see that these are exactly what they expect and what they've come to love. The unit is quite large and the detailing is very well done. All of the paint edges are very, very sharp, and even though it looks plain, it's exactly the way it's supposed to look, and the kids will appreciate the authenticity to the real thing. There's only one switch on the unit underneath, and it controls the polarity for large scale or the NMRA standard. If we continue to look underneath, you'll see that there are sets of wheels on the engine and on the tender. The wheels are made of metal, a very heavy metal. The two outer wheels actually ride on the rail, and the middle wheel rides actually on top, but when you're running, you don't notice. The front wheel is sprung to keep pressure, which will keep the front wheels from derailing. The tender matches the engine perfectly, and it also has large hook and loop couplers on it as well. The wheels are made of metal on the tender, but one thing that you should really look at is the play value on this is excellent. These are not just metal wheels that are held on by a plastic piece. They are held on by a heavy piece of metal, and in that metal is a plastic ring so that the wheel rolls very easily. There's going to be some quality playtime, and these things won't break easily. The coal load is just amazing. I'm not quite sure how they designed that, but it looks like coal. And it's easy to put together. Any kid can pick up and put the hook to connect the engine to the tender. Thomas is a great-looking engine. Let's take a look and see how he runs. We hooked them up on our test track so we could see the volts in the amps, and we found that the engine started to roll the wheels just at about 3.2 to 3.5 volts, and it did not draw very many amps at all. We took the unit all the way up to our standard 12 volts to see how it would run. It may look like it's running a little bit fast, but I'm sure you remember when you were a kid that your trains kind of ran fast too. The eyes on James move, and here's James going from 0 to 12 volts and back down again. James is the biggest of the engines available from Bachmann Trains in the Thomas & Friends set. He's a little over 2 feet long with tender. He's just almost 7 inches high at his highest point, and he's 4 inches wide. With the tender, James weighs in at about 4.2 pounds. This is a neat little engine, and there's going to be some additional rolling stock that is available now and in the future for James to pull. If you're looking for an engine to add to your Percy and Thomas, James would make an excellent addition to the family.